I said, guess who's back? Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back?
What's going on, guys? It's Backchat TV, and this time I'm back with some breaking news. So we can now, as of today, as of a few hours ago, we can confirm that Errol Spence and Derrick James have split. And even further than that, we speculated that their split was due to financial reasons. We know already that it was rumoured that Errol Spence did not pay Derrick James the amount of money he wanted or expected for the Terence Crawford fight. Nobody actually knew this for certain, but obviously these rumours came out. But now it's been taken, unfortunately, to a whole new level. It's gone to court, part of the public records now. I do have some documentation here. Well, this is actually the text messages that they were discussing the issues about the money. I'll just quickly go over what he says. Derrick James actually sends his number, which is blocked out at the moment so that you can't see personal details. Errol Spence responds, "What number is that?" Derrick James says, "That's my bank account number." Cool. What's the number? I think now he's talking about referring to the money. Derrick James then proceeds to text back the number of how much he owes him. 2,150,000. Since I already paid you 350. I'm not sure if he means 3 million, 3.5 million, or 3.5 million. He's already paid him. I'm not sure exactly how much he means. And then he actually proceeds, which you may not be able to see on screen, but he then proceeds to say, "Cool, no problem. I don't have the money in liquid form now. I'll get it to you next week," which we'll see maybe coming up on the message here. Cool. What's the number? He quotes the number. "Since I already paid you 350, I'm not sure how much that's referring to, 350,000, or he's referring to in the millions. He said, "It'll be next week. Don't have it in liquid." Evidently, Derrick James didn't necessarily wait till next week. It has gone to court and it's been seen by a judge already. The records are already out there, open to the public if you obviously know how to access the records. They've gone into all of the details of the contract, and so I'm not going to go over everything, but the general idea, I'm just going to give you a general outline of what's going on. So what it seems to be is Derrick James, as the former trainer of Errol Spence, is, I wouldn't say demanding, but says that Errol Spence owes him £5 million. Now, what he's including in this is his basic 10% of the guaranteed fight wage, but it seems as if he is including in this 10% of the overall money that Errol Spence earned. This includes the main wage that he gets for the fight and the back end money, which a lot of things are included in that money. One of the things is the pay-per-view money that you get. So I think Derrick James wanted 10% of the whole gross amount, as you would say, and Errol Spence is disputing that because he's saying that he was only talking about 10% of his guaranteed fight wage and nothing to do with the back end money. Now, this is the major dispute. Now, Errol Spence, he says that previously, for previous fights, because the judges are obviously looking into all the records of all the fights over 11 years, it seems to be the case that previously Errol Spence has paid Derrick James 10%. There doesn't seem to be anything written in the contract that Derrick James should receive 10% of Errol Spence's total earnings for the Terence Crawford fight. It seems to be just verbal, that they basically spoke verbally about how much he would get, and it's always been 10%. So Errol Spence's argument, it's always been 10%. So Errol Spence's argument is that he was just carrying on with the agreement that they've always had, the 10%. Now, it could look as if Derrick James doesn't really have a case because Errol Spence has always paid 10%. He's sometimes admitted to giving bonuses, but not all the time, and it wasn't written in any contract. This time he didn't give any, just the 10%. But in Derek James' defense, it's common practice. Sometimes common practice can kind of supersede what is written in a contract. So it's widely known, they call it common practice, that as a fighter gets more known and earns more money, their pay goes up. They're able to negotiate more money on the back end with the pay-per-views. As the fights get more difficult, as you go up the rankings, as your trainer obviously has to do more to get you prepared for more difficult fights. And it's expected that with it, the fees can sometimes go up. The trainer can sometimes, maybe charge a bit more, or the amount of money that they get kind of goes up with the expectations, and that can kind of include money on the back end as well. But nothing really seems to be written down in a contract. So, I'm not sure how successful Derek James can be with trying to get 10% of the total earnings. But the case is ongoing, and that seems to be basically what they're fighting over at the moment. Do I think that who's in the wrong? I have no idea. It's a legal matter. It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because it seems as if they never had any problems in the 11 years prior to this. Every fight, Errol Spence, without failure, paid Derek James his 10%, and most of the times he gave him a bonus. So it's not anything written down, but probably maybe for almost every fight he gave him a bonus. But this fight, he didn't. Now, is that fair? Is it fair that he didn't give him a bonus? I don't know. It was the biggest fight of his life. He made the most money that he's ever made in his life, but it was his first loss. Now, I think it's very difficult. On Errol Spence's side, I feel like it's very difficult to lose the biggest fight of your life, the fight that is defining, the fight where you're going for greatness and everything is on the line, and then you lose. And then after you lose, your trainer is asking for, a large sum of money. And it's just, I don't know, a bit disheartening. There's always going to be an issue where you feel like your trainer didn't really do what he could have done. Maybe he felt as if there were some things lacking. Maybe he felt that Derek James should have prepared him for certain things that he encountered in the ring against Terence Crawford. And basically, I don't want to just be guessing, but he probably wasn't happy with certain things and just felt as if, I don't have to give you this bonus. I lost. We're not working together anymore anyway. So, just take the 10% and that's it. So in a way, I think Errol Spence is kind of in the right. If they never had anything written in the contract, Errol Spence is kind of right, because he doesn't have to pay him any money from the back end, especially if he wasn't happy with his performance. He was not going to stay with him anymore. They've split. I don't know, someone kind of demanding that you should pay me more because you've paid me this before. If it's not in the contract, then he doesn't have to do it. If it is in the contract, then he does have to do it. It should be as black and white as that, but obviously when it comes to the law, it's not always like that. Sometimes common practice come into it. If Errol Spence, for example, has consistently given Derek James a bonus in every fight, and apart from this one, then it may be the case that it's fair or reasonable, as they use in law, to suggest that he do the same in the Terence Crawford fight. Maybe the text messages, which we just looked at, where Derek James actually quotes the exact number, and Errol Spence says, yeah, fine, I'll pay you next week, or whatever he says. Maybe that is enough to have a binding contract. So I don't know if they're going to use the text messages where he actually seems to agree that he will pay, then Errol Spence shouldn't go back on his word. Having said that, does a message on a phone amount to a contract? How many times has someone been bothering you to do something and you said, yeah, sure, yeah, I'm going to do it, I'll go do it tomorrow, and you haven't done it? You don't really care. It's just something that you said on the phone. So how important are messages. You know, a promise to do something. How many times do people break promises to do something? You know, if it's written in a contract where both parties have signed it and all sorts of things, then he has to pay. But other than that, I don't know. And I can't really say, you know, so I've heard some people saying Errol Spence should just pay Derek James. He's been with him for so long. He got him ready for the fight. He should just pay him. But I don't know. You know, if you're not happy with a trainer, and obviously you lost, so that's even more, you know, reason to not be happy, then why would you pay someone a bonus? Bonuses are for doing a good job. You know, he didn't win, so the 10% is all he gets. You know, I might be seeing it a little bit black and white, but I can see it from that perspective. Having said that, Derek James taking time out from his family to work solely on Errol Spence and this fight. They put a lot into it. It's only right that he get out what he deserves. So I don't know. It's a complicated one. I wouldn't try to guess the correct answer, but that is kind of what is going on at the moment. The case is ongoing. Apparently, Errol Spence has paid. Errol Spence has paid a percentage of that money. The 5 million that Derek James is kind of asking for, demanding, has not been paid by Errol Spence yet. The case continues. Let me know what you think. Who's in the wrong? Who's in the right? One thing that I haven't mentioned yet is Errol Spence is actually countersuing Derek James for £250,000. Now, I'm not sure exactly the terms of his counter claim. I think it's to do with time wasted and legal fees, you know, because of this case, but I'm not sure about that yet. Obviously, Errol Spence, his counterclaim will not be entertained unless he wins. If he wins, then obviously they'll entertain the £250,000. All sounds a little bit petty. It's quite sad that everything falls out when somebody loses, but that's often what happens. Let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe. I'm on to the next one.
I said, guess who's back? Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back?